much. And joining us now is Stephane Dujarric, the spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General. Stephane, thanks so much for being here. Some are describing this incident as a Hunger Games-style massacre. The convoy was in the northern Gaza, where it's even worse up there. Very little aid is getting there. Israeli soldiers say it was a stampede that killed all these people. Other witnesses say the Israelis fired on the crowd. What have you been able to learn?
Well, we're not able to have an investigation at this point because there's a conflict going on. But what we saw were people dying because they were afraid of dying of hunger. They saw a truck. They tried to grab the food. We don't know exactly what happened. We do know shots were fired. We had a team at Al-Shifa Hospital today, which was able to get to the north of Gaza for the first time in more than 10 days. They spent about 2.5 hours at the hospital to deliver humanitarian aid, to deliver fuel. They saw people with gunshot wounds. At some point, there will need to be an investigation. There will need to be accountability. But what we need now is a humanitarian ceasefire.
And they also saw people who were dead who looked like they had been crushed by a stampede.
People were in body bags. So, I mean, they were not there to do forensics. They were there to deliver aid. But they were body bags there of people who had died the previous day.
I ask about the gunshots wound because only the IDF has said we fired warning shots into the air, and then we only fired non-lethal ammunition toward the crowd when we felt threatened by the crowd. What do we think happened here? This happened, by the way, at 4 o'clock in the morning.
We were not involved in this distribution of aid. This was not organized by the United Nations. This is just another example of the chaotic situation in which we humanitarians have to operate in. We can't operate in a normal way without a ceasefire. We're being opportunistic. We're putting the lives of our own people at risk, and we're putting, most importantly, the lives of those people who need humanitarian aid at risk.
Part of the problem is that Hamas isn't just a terrorist organization. Hamas also in Gaza provided a lot of social services, like distributing aid. And now Hamas says we can't distribute, food and medicine anymore because we are a target of the IDF because they committed this terrorist attack. Who's giving out the aid? Well,
the UN, through UNRWA, was a huge part of the humanitarian aid distribution. What we're seeing now in Gaza is a breakdown in social order. There had been, the Hamas were the de facto authorities. There had been some sort of law and order in Gaza. Right now, it's gone. So we can't even get our trucks in because people are taking it. We're also seeing an increase in criminal gangs taking aid. All this is just spiraling out of control, and it's the men, women, and children, the civilians in Gaza, who are paying the ultimate price.
Today, the EU announced it was going to restart its contributions to UNRWA, which 10 other countries, the United States included, had suspended any donations to the UN agency after about a dozen members had been accused by Israelis of taking part, of being members of Hamas, taking part in that October 7th attack. I know that you have an outside investigation going on into this. Have you been investigating to make sure? A lot of the members of UNRWA live in Gaza. They are Palestinian. And there has long been an accusation by Israel that there is a pro-Hamas, not just bias, but that they are actually members of Hamas. What is the investigation?
The 12 people violated every oath and every ideal that the UN stands for. UNRWA has 13,000 Palestinians who work for UNRWA as doctors, as teachers, as social workers. What I can tell you is that every year, the whole list of Palestinians who work for UNRWA is shared with the Israeli government. And it was shared this year as it's been the year before. And there was never any red flag shared with us by the Israeli government. We are fully transparent in terms of the people who work for us. And we want to get to the bottom of this as much as anybody else does, because so many innocent people depend on the United Nations just to be able to survive right now in Gaza.
Are you hoping other countries will follow
suit? We very
suit?
much hope others will follow the European Union's Commission's example.
Because these people in Gaza are paying the price.
They're paying the price. They don't have food. They're eating animal food, animal seed. We're hearing the most horrific horror stories.
All right. Stephane Dujarric, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.